on this lesson, we are going to see variables and we are going to take a deeper look on strings. So let's go straight ahead, open the terminal. I'm going to put here to the left and open the code editor. It's already fitting here on the right. So before we start the lesson, I found a quirk of this code editor. And if you type in, for instance, an underscore or a space, in the default configuration, and now I have already changed that, but in the default configuration, you can see no difference. So the underscore is like a blank space, which does not make any sense. But yeah, let's not blame Linux on that. So to change that, you go here to Edit and Preferences. Then you go to Interface here on the left, make it sure it's also interface here. And in the editor font, you want to change this. So this is going to be a different font for you. It's probably going to be mono space something. So you go here, you search for free mono, and then you pick free mono regular. And the size is probably going to be 10, so you may want to increase that to 12, like it's here. Click select, click OK, yeah, and yeah, there you go. So now it's working again. So let's start the lesson then, and let's start by creating a Ruby file here. So we are going to type in puts and then hello world, and let's save this file. So I'm going to save this file here in home and then code. I have this folder here called code, and if you don't have it, you might just create it. So I'm going to enter it, and let's give a name to this file. It's called strings.rb. Yeah. So if you didn't have the folder before, like here, you may click this little button here to create a folder, and then create a folder for you, and then enter it and strings.rb. So save. Now the file is saved, and since it is .rb, it's going to be colored like a Ruby script, as you see down here, file type Ruby. Anyway, let's save this. It's already saved. So here in the terminal, let me make a little bit, smaller. So we're going to type in cd code, and now we can see we are in the code folder. And if we do ls -lh, we're going to see that the strings.rb file is here. So let's run it. And to run it using Ruby, we type Ruby and then the file name, strings.rb. Then enter. And then we see hello world. Now, this seems pretty simple. Now let's change this a little bit. So I'm gonna, instead of do puts here, I'm gonna do x equals hello world. And down here, I'm gonna do puts x. And then save it. And I'm gonna run it again. In order to run it again, I'm gonna use the little trick like before. So press the up key in the keyboard, and it's gonna repeat the last command, so you don't have to type it every time. Then press return or enter, whatever is written on your key. And there you go. Hello world again, didn't change anything. So let's do it now slightly different again. And let's say hello, and then y equals world. And now, if we save the file and run it, what we're going to see? Well, we're going to see hello. Actually, we are seeing hello and a space. You see, there's a space in the end, because if you select one more, it is going to select the whole line, which is just a behavior of the terminal. But here, if you select it and go just one more, you see there's no extra space there. And here you can realize there is a space. Well, anyway, just a tip to check that out. So hello space and then world. We actually want to print here hello world again. So let's do it like this. Then press up, arrow up in your keyboard, enter, and you're going to see this. Also, we may remove this space here. So if we save the file and run it, you're going to see that the space is gone, because nowhere we are telling that we want a space here. So let's make a different variable here. Let's call it s. And then this s variable is going to be a string with a space, and then add it also here and run it, and there you go, hello world again with the space. Cool. So what is happening here? These are variables. So variables is a fundamental concept in any programming language, and in Ruby you declare a variable by starting to use it. So Ruby code is executed from the top to the bottom sequentially. So it went to like line 1, didn't have anything, so line 2, nothing, and then suddenly line 3. And then line 3, we are saying x equals hello, or the string hello. So what it's gonna do is gonna take the string hello, and it is gonna allocate a variable called x in the memory, and it is gonna put this value inside this variable x. And then line 4, nothing is gonna happen. Then we are gonna go to line 5, and the same thing is gonna happen. So it is gonna take this string here, and it is gonna allocate some space in memory for the variable s. So it's gonna create a new variable called s, and it is gonna put this value inside the variable s. So now s equals the space. And then on line 7, well, it's doing the same thing, but now world, and now variable is y. And on line 9 then, we are now referring to these previously declared variables. So we are saying put x plus s plus y. So this would be quite the same thing as doing this. Hello, which is the variable of x, plus space, which is the value of the variable s, plus world, which is the value of variable y. So if we do this, now it's going to print hello world twice, because yeah, this one is printing the first one, and this one is printing the second one. Well, if we change anything here, like this L to an uppercase L, it's just as expected. Now, let's do something a little bit different. So let's delete this, and let's say that y is actually s plus world, and let's see what this does. And what it does is, if you realize, now there are here 2 spaces. You see it's a little bit larger than this one. This is only 1 space, now 2 spaces, of course, because as you may guess, what is happening here is that x is hello, s is a space, and then y is the space that was an s plus plus world. And then when you're putting it all together like here, you're putting the s twice. It would be kind of the same as if you did it like this. You know, y is s plus world. And now if you remove it from here, it would be, this actually would be the same thing that y was before. Well, let's now do something different. Instead of putting the space here right on the beginning, let's instead put this space here from s yet after the value of x. So now what is going to happen here? And let me go to the terminal and press Ctrl L once again to just make it cleaner. And then I'm going to press up, and let's run this program, and oh damn, crashed. So what happened here? Well, there's quite a lot of information here, and I'm going to read through this because it's important that you already get used to reading error messages. Because in a programming career, you're going to see error messages a lot, all the time. So what it's telling here is the error. So there's an error, it's telling here, name error. So it's an error, and the kind of the type of the error, the class or the kind of the error is a name error. And it is saying undefined local variable or method s. If I expand this, it's maybe a little bit easier to read it. You see, so undefined local variable method s, and oops, and if let me put this back here. So s is not found, and it is giving us some hints here. So this variable is not being found on the strings.rb file, which is this file, and then this tree refers to the line number. For instance, if we now put this on line 2, save the file, run it again, you're going to see here number 2. So because the error happened while, as I said, Ruby is going to execute the code line by line from the first line to the last line. And then it executes line 1, no problem, because line 1 is not doing anything. And then it went to line 2, and suddenly an error. So it was evaluating this line, trying to make sense of it, then executed, and it said, well, undefined local variable. Well, what do you mean undefined? The variable is here. Well, remember, that is very important. Since this is executed sequentially, it means that when it was executing this line, this one was not yet executed. So line 4 is not known to Ruby. While it is executing line 2, it cannot go, for instance, to line 4 and try to guess what it's going to do there. It is not going to try to predict the future. It is just going to execute sequentially. So variable s at line 2 is not yet defined. That is why if we put this on line 6, it worked. Because on line 6, as you see, it was defined here, and now it is defined. So when you do a variable assignment, you're saying from now on, this variable is valid. So in a future lesson, we are going to see that this is going to get a little bit more complicated than that. There's something called variable scoping. But yeah, so for now, this is just fine. We can think like it is here. And we're going to understand if you are using functions or classes, then the scopes of variables are going to be a little bit different. But this is the fundamentals. These are the basics. So it is not going to deviate much from these. So this way, you see, it's going to execute. Now, let's do it a little bit different. Let's take this line, and I'm going to cut and paste. So I'm going to invert it. And now, instead of putting it here, I'm going to put it in the end. And that is going to solve our problem. You see? Now, I'm still using it here. I don't want this double space. So let's run it again. You see, now I'm declaring variable s. It is a space, just a string with a space. And then variable x is going to be a value of hello plus x plus s. And then variable y is going to be world. And yeah, then putting it all together here, we see that it is hello world. So let's clean this. I'm going to run it once again just to have it here on the history. And now I'm going to do something a little bit different. So let's say plus s also here. And since this is going to be the last space, I want it to be visible. So for that, I'm going to add just an exclamation point here. Just because then we see this little space in between the world and the exclamation point. So this little space here is coming from variable s here that we added it together. Now, what if we do, for instance, what if we say now s equals dash? So it's a string with a dash. What is going to happen? It is going to print hello dash world and then dash exclamation point. Well, easy answer is no. It is going to print hello and then space and then world and then the dash and then the exclamation point. So why? Because again, as I said, and this is very important, that's why I'm repeating it, is that the code is executed sequentially. So at line 2, s was assigned the value of a blank space. And then at line 4, x was assigned a value of hello plus s. Now, what happened here is that the value inside x is not some kind of thing saying that this is actually hello and then plus s. So this addition happens right away. So the addition happens at this moment. This is why in line 6 we are gonna change the value of s. So s is gonna have a different value. However, here this addition was already performed. So when this executed, it was using the current value of s as this point in time. So the value of s is changing with time. You see, here it was a space and now it is a dash. So from this point forward, the value of s is going to be a dash. From this point forward, the value of s is going to be a space. From line 1 forward, the value of s is not going to be defined. In fact, s is not even defined. And yeah. So if you want to do some checks here, we can add here puts x. And puts x is going to show us the actual value of x, which is hello, and then it's it's hard to see, but it is a space. So let's change this to a dot. So let's put a dot just because it is easier to see it. So now we are saying s is a dot, and then x is hello plus dot. And then if we puts is going to print the value of x, and then we see that the value of x printed here from line 6 is hello dot. So the value of x is hello dot. It doesn't matter if s changed later. The value of x is already defined. It's not going to change. And then you see we change here the value of s, and then let's put x again. And we can see hello dot again. So this one is being printed by line 6, and this line is printed by line 10 here in the code. And despite the value of s changing, it is not affecting these. So this is it for this lesson, and see you next time.